Greetings, Commanders, Cerebrats, and Executors. Today we're talking about supply. Almost all units in StarCraft take up supply to have. They range from things like workers, which take only one supply, to powerful capital ships, which sometimes take as much as 6 supply each. Your supply is displayed in the top right of the screen. At the moment, I have 165 supply in use, and 169 supply is available for me to use. So I've only got 4 supplies spare that I can use on something else. If I come to my gateways and I try to build a couple of units, I can only build until I've used up all the supply I have available. I can't queue up more units if I don't have enough supply for them. If I mouse over the Zealot, you can see a Zealot takes up 2 supply. So you have to spend a lot of time building things to increase your supply maximum in StarCraft. As a Protoss player, the 2 things that increase your supply maximum are the Nexus, which increases it by 9, and the Pylon, which increases it by 8. A Nexus costs a lot more than a Pylon, so while it does give you more total supply, it's usually more efficient to build Pylons. I'm just going to start this Nexus, we'll leave that running in the background. But if I want to increase my supply maximum further, the main thing I'm going to do is build more Pylons. We'll just wait a little bit until those Pylons are finished. And here they are, they're coming in. So you can see my supply maximum has increased. It was 169, now it is 185. That's 16 more supply, 8 for each of these 2 Pylons I built. Our Nexus is still on the way, so I can go build some more combat units if I want to. Now, your supply maximum is only maintained as long as the things that are giving you supply, the buildings that are providing you with supply to use, are still alive. If we take some of our units and we start killing our Pylons, or if someone else was killing your Pylons, then we can see our supply maximum actually goes down. And if I keep killing more of these Pylons, then eventually we come to the point where I have less supply maximum than the amount of supply I'm actually using. And this, of course, means I can't build anything else, but it doesn't hurt my units in any other way. It doesn't kill extra units to get me underneath the supply maximum, or anything like that. It just means I'm going to have to spend more resources on building back up to the supply maximum I need to reach in order to be able to build units again. Now, you can't keep increasing your maximum supply forever. 200 is the hard cap on supply. You can never make your maximum supply go above 200. I'm just going to build a lot of Pylons here to demonstrate this. I'm going to build enough Pylons that it would go well over 200 supply if all of them was providing their full value, but they will not be doing that. And my maximum supply has reached 200, and as these other 2 Pylons finish off, you will see that my maximum supply is not increasing above 200. No matter what you do, you can never get over 200 maximum supply. And if we keep building more and more units, eventually we will reach that supply cap. So throughout the game, you're going to need to build the buildings that give you more supply in order to keep getting access to larger numbers of units so your army can get bigger. And I'm just going to wait until these Zealots are done, so that we can see that when we try to go over 200 supply, we are simply prevented. Supply is used up as soon as you begin building a unit. So all these Zealots that are building in these gateways are already represented in that 199 supply. But if I try to build another one, I just get this message, psi limit exceeded. So we've talked about Protoss. Now the supply system is much the same for Terran and Zerg, but I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate them. So I have this Terran base prepared over here with a lot of supply depots and command centers. Supply depots and command centers are the buildings that Terrans use to increase their maximum supply. And this also gives me an opportunity to point out an interesting quirk of how supply works in StarCraft. If you look at the top right, now that I have both a Protoss base over here and a Terran base over here, I have a separate number for my Protoss supply and for my Terran supply. Protoss supply and Terran supply and Zerg supply are all different things. You can reach independently 200 supply of Protoss units, 200 supply of Terran units, and 200 supply of Zerg units, if you can somehow get hold of a Protoss base, a Terran base, and a Zerg base all at the same time. There aren't many circumstances where you get to do things like that. The main ones are in the campaign. There are a couple of campaign missions where you're given multiple bases for different races at the same time. But when you have access to more than one faction in StarCraft, when you control more than one faction at a time in StarCraft, you can get to much larger total armies because their supply is counted as different things. So if I start queuing up units for the Terran, I've hit 170 out of 170 supply as Terran. Command centers give me 10 supply each, and supply depots give me 8 supply each, just like the Protoss pylon does. But again, the command center is much more expensive than the depot, so in general, you're building depots, not command centers, to increase your maximum supply. Let's build a couple of depots. And we'll just demonstrate that, again, you can't go above 200. I'm going to start up 5 supply depots here. 5 supply depots, 8 supply per depot. These would give me 40 additional supply if every one of them counted, but I've only got 30 maximum supply left available to me because 200 is the supply cap. So as these finish up, we'll see that I'll go up to 200 Terran supply, but I won't go above that. And finally, I am just going to demonstrate the same thing with Zerg. I have another Zerg base prepared over here, and the Zerg base is at 166 out of 169 supply. If I start building some units, I can't build too many more units because I don't have the supply for it. Hatcheries and Overlords both give additional supply as Zerg. The hatchery only gives you 1 additional supply though, and it's relatively expensive. You never build hatcheries for the supply. You build hatcheries because you want the production capacity that they have. The main way you increase your supply as Zerg is with Overlords. Now, Zerg has this slight difference from the other races that their main supply increaser is a unit. It's a flying unit. It can't attack, but it can move around and scout things. Unlike the other 2 races who use supply depots and pylons, which are buildings. But if I build a couple Overlords, then when they finish, you'll see my supply go up to 200. And I'm just going to bring these Overlords in here, because I'm going to kill some of my Overlords just to demonstrate as the Overlords die, my maximum supply goes back down again. And then my maximum supply has hit 200. Now, I've got quite a few more Overlords than I need, so it'll take quite a few Overlord kills to get back under 200. You can see I just killed about 8 Overlords, still on 200 maximum Zerg supply up here in the top right. But now we're under 200 and we're going further down. And again, when you fall below the amount of supply you're actually using, when your maximum supply is less than your used supply, it doesn't kill any of your units. You just can't build anything more until you've exceeded that, until you've brought your maximum supply back up high enough again. It just means you're going to have to spend a lot more resources on building those Overlords or depots or pylons. So that is supply in StarCraft.